Target lost billions of dollars because they tried to have this pride selection.
Oh yeah, gay mannequins.
Yeah, they had all these like pride children's shirts and
gay children. Yeah,
and then obviously the Bud Light thing with Dylan Mulvaney. They've lost $20+ billion.
Subscribe now.
Can you imagine? You're just gonna send a fucking can to some confused person that day 365 of womanhood, and you send that person a fucking can with their face on, and your company loses $20 billion. That is wild, man. So we're seeing that now where we never saw that before, where people are going, enough.
Right.
Enough. Stop shoving this down everybody's throat. When I go to Target, I don't want to see like fucking tuck pants where you like they're designed to help you tuck your dick. Like, hey, that's not normal. And I don't want that right in front of everybody.
Even in the Disney film in Pinocchio, it's unbelievable, the pub scene. And you'll remember this when you saw it as a kid. It gave you a creepy feeling in your belly.
Let's see it. Pub scene in Pinocchio.
He talks about bringing the boys to Pleasure Island.
How would you blokes like to make some real money? I'm collecting stupid little boys. Stupid little boys. I takes them to Pleasure Island. Pleasure Island. Pleasure Island? But the law. Suppose they... No. There's no risk. They never come back.
If you create a school-to-prison pipeline, and hip-hop started getting specific partnerships with private prisons, and they start profiting from encouraging the youth to get incarcerated. So you start to see
Hold on. I want to make sure I understand this, because what you're saying is breathtaking to me. You're saying hip-hop got into... Go ahead.
Like label owners, Universal, Interscope, and things such as Sony and Warner Brothers. Like, they have partnerships with private prisons.
Really?
Yes, they actually get funded. So there was actually a meeting done in the 90s, and you can fact check this and look this up, and there's plenty of celebrities that even was present at the meeting that they get paid with specific capacity in prisons.
So the record labels are paying the prisons?
Not paying the prisons, no, it's the other way around.
The prisons are paying the record labels?
Yeah, the record owners, yeah.
Okay.
And it's been going on since the 90s. There was a transition from hip-hop. Hip-hop actually was very poetic.
Yes, I loved old hip-hop, man. I just loved it.
Yeah, it was very poetic. And you'll see the transition. I don't know if it was like 1991, 92, but the same year when the alleged meeting happened, you see Tupac got a Thug Life tattoo. And you start seeing a lot of representation from just being a thug itself. They were personifying what a thug was, and to be tough.
I love the aspect of the AI and the machines taking over. You know, we have cars that drive themselves, and that's a convenience right now, but soon there won't be a steering wheel, and it'll take you to the police station to give outstanding parking tickets, and, you know, it'll be like that. So we've got a lot to look forward to.
The future is very dystopian on a tangent, because in the future, the entire police force will be AI. It'll all be roboticized, and robots have no soul. And then you're really in trouble. This is what I'm talking about, chess pieces and how they exert their power. Because as they reduce you to a QR code, as they reduce you to nothing more than a medical status as to whether you comply, because that's what they really want. I'm not going to sit here and say that anything's dangerous. What I'm going to say is they want to know who blindly complies and who thinks for themselves. And the people who think for themselves must be punished. As stupid as police can be, you can stand in front of one and say, my friend, you and I are the same. Why are you punishing me? And maybe you'll get through. But you can't do that with the camera that scans your QR code. Do you understand? They don't care. It's just a yes or a no.
I think generally people underestimate the capability of AI. They sort of think like it's a smart human, but it's really much. It's going to be much more than that. It'll be much smarter than the smartest human. Like the biggest mistake that I see artificial intelligence researchers making is assuming that they're intelligent. Yeah, they're not compared to AI.
During the life of the vehicle,
The average age of a vehicle before it gets scrapped is around 180,000 miles. You can see the conventional vehicle produces about 30 tons of CO2 over its lifetime. How does the electric vehicle look? Pretty good, right? Because some of that electricity comes from renewable sources, and because the electric motor is far more efficient than the internal combustion engine, it produces less CO2. But there is a problem with this graph. This graph says that at 0 miles, 0 CO2 has been produced. And if you think about that for a second, it means that the two cars have magically appeared in the showroom out of thin air. In reality, a huge amount of CO2 is produced just making a vehicle, because you have to dig raw materials out of the ground, transport them to factories where they can be formed into car parts, before finally being assembled into vehicles. Each step requires energy, and so we create CO2. So you can see the conventional vehicle comes to the showroom having generated about 6 tons of CO2. And now this is the critical part. Making a battery isn't easy. The materials required are harder to find, and making a battery cell requires a huge amount of energy. So the battery vehicle comes to the showroom having generated about 12 tons of CO2. And you can see you'd have to drive it around 80 or 90,000 miles before you offset that CO2 penalty. But it is better in the end. So the electric vehicle still looks good here as well, right? Well, this is where it gets interesting. You see, the conventional vehicle has a 400-mile range, while the electric vehicle in this example has a 125-mile range. Now, 125 miles might be enough for some of you, but most of us want more. We'd like to be able to drive great distances across the states. Or if you're here in Texas, you might just want to get to the next city. So really, we need to be comparing a 400-mile range electric vehicle. And as you may have guessed, a longer range requires a larger battery, which means a larger CO2 penalty. And now you start to see the problem. Over its expected lifetime, it has emitted more CO2 than the conventional vehicle. It has contributed more to climate change than the conventional vehicle, and that is the crux of the problem. It has produced more CO2, but we've measured none. And so society is happy to continue to call these zero emissions. But that is dangerous and unproductive.
In education sucks, and it's the same reason that it will never, ever, ever be fixed. It's never going to get any better. Don't look for it. Be happy with what you got. Because the owners of this country don't want that. I'm talking about the real owners now. The real owners, the big wealthy business interests that control things and make all the important decisions. Forget the politicians. The politicians are put there to give you the idea that you have freedom of choice. You don't. You have no choice. You have owners. They own you. They own everything. They own all the important land. They own and control the corporations. They've long since bought and paid for the Senate, the Congress, the state houses, the city halls. They got the judges in their back pockets. And they own all the big media companies, so they control just about all of the news and information you get to hear. They got you by the balls. They spend billions of dollars every year lobbying to get what they want. Well, we know what they want. They want more for themselves and less for everybody else. But I'll tell you what they don't want. They don't want a population of citizens capable of critical thinking. They don't want well-informed, well-educated people capable of critical thinking. They're not interested in that. That doesn't help them. That's against their interest. That's right.